What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of At Home with Mark. Today, we're going across the pond for 2 weeks in a row. We're going to Australia, which is crazy. I've never done that, Terry. But Mr. Terry Crawford from DevTech Audio is here with us today. And we're going to talk about his company. We're going to talk about where you came from, where you're going with your company, everything like that. But, dude, Terry, thanks for waking up early, first and foremost, to hang with
No
me.
problem. Absolutely. Anytime, Mark.
So, and I do have to give a huge shout out to the moderator in the chat, BV, because BV is the one that connected us and said that I need to play this thing.
Yeah, thanks,
And
BV.
let me just first and foremost say that I don't often do this, Terry, but like I will say this thing has become my sound. And what I mean by that, and it loves my 335, like this Into That 2 Rock and this is basically what I just leave on all night, and I just roll my volume the whole night.
That's
And then
great.
I'll have like an overdrive or a boost if I need to get a little bit higher gain. But this thing does such a great job of kind of being a really pillowy, really musical bass tone for me. And when I roll up my volume, a great lead tone too. So I want to get there and talk about that. But I always have to ask this. What's your earliest musical memory?
Oh, man. We're going back a few years, Mark.
We can go back as far as you want, man. You can jump out of the cradle and tell me all about it.
I don't remember that far back, but I do have this memory of probably pre-9, so maybe 7 or 8. Those little flat tape, the old tape cassettes, right?
Mm-hmm.
The little flat tape decks, not the boombox type things, but the flat ones. And
I
you
know
used
what you're
to
talking about.
stick it in a little tray. I had one of them. My dad got me. My dad was heavily into music, but could never play an instrument. I did try and teach him guitar later on, but he could never really get it. His brother was a touring musician, actually, who taught me guitar and influenced me.
Oh, wow. So hold on a second.
Yeah.
Let's pause there. So,
Yeah.
because I didn't have any, like, besides my grandfather kind of noodling on guitar, I didn't have anything like that. So, was your uncle? What was he doing? Like touring?
Yeah, not a big band. It was an Australian band, but he played guitar. He actually played every instrument, but that I could think of. He's very musical, but guitar was his favorite. Actually, in the band that he was touring with, he was a bass guitarist at the time. I've got this memory of him buying me this. Actually, he gave me when I was probably around the same age. Gave me this massive dreadnought type acoustic, right? Like a Spanish massive guitar. And I'm this big. And so you can imagine me trying to play this guitar, right? Which was an experience. And I stuck with that for about 6 months and tried to teach myself. And it's probably single note stuff. Nylon string being big Spanish guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And he was impressed by that and actually bought me a Fender Strat when I was 11. Actually similar to that black one I showed you earlier.
Oh, okay.
And an American secondhand Strat. And it changed my life. Yeah. So really influenced the rest of my life. And between him and my dad, musically, I think that's where I've got my influences.
Okay.
And yeah, with a little tape deck, right? We'd like I'd blast Deep Purple. That was my favorite band when I was.
Nice.
Yeah, much to my mum's dismay, I think. I'd used to crank that little tape deck every time I was back from school.
So was your mom like anti rock and roll, or what was it? Was that was
no? Like... She's indifferent. I think she likes music. She's a very big Beatles fan.
Oh,
I used to go through all the albums, the White Album. She had this double White Album, man. It was so awesome. I don't know what happened to all that vinyl. That'd be worth a mint these days.
Right? Yeah, that's
Yeah.
crazy.
But she could
Eh
never play an instrument. She was never interested in playing an instrument, but she'd always come and watch us play live. I played in a band with my brother for a long time. So
Oh, nice. What does your brother play?
he plays bass,
Okay.
actually. Yeah. And I played guitar, and we crossed a few bands, but we'd always stay together. So
That is like so some of my favorite bands are like brothers in the band. And like it's weird, but like it seems like there's just like this kismet, like like telepathy between, siblings that are in a band. Like if you like look at the Black Crows or the Brothers Landreth or like bands like that where you're just like, or the Teskey Brothers, another
yeah,
Australian group.
yeah,
Um, all those guys seem to have like this telepathy between them that makes this band. It's like the glue that holds everything together in a way. So
yeah.
there was a period of time when my older brother, because I have an older brother who got me into like a lot of the music that I'm into now, and there was a period of time when I was like, oh, it'd be cool if I got my brother to play bass, my older brother to play bass. And he never, I mean, I don't think we ever really even talked about it, but because he's 4 years older than me. So, I mean, by the time I got to high school, he was in college, he was gone. But that's like my favorite thing to hear about is when there's family that doesn't have to be the Partridge Family vibe where it's like the whole
Yeah.
dang family, but like if there's like two siblings, a sister and a brother, or two brothers or two sisters, whatever, it's just cool, man. I just really dig that vibe. Um, all right, so 11 years old. That's probably around the time that I started to. We're pretty close in age, so that makes
Yeah.
sense. And like, so besides Deep Purple, like, what were you getting into musically that was kind of pushing and inspiring you?
I think because my dad was he was an old rocker, right? Like Led Zeppelin, Deep Purple, Black Sabbath was a big one. We saw Ozzy a couple of times. So that was, that's what led my initial influence, I guess, which was definitely down that rock path, Motorhead, sort of the heavier rock side.
Mhm.
But on the other side, with my mum, I had the Beatles and the Stones um, and Pink Floyd. I mentioned that last, but that would have been the biggest influence, I think.
You should show
Um,
that guitar because I knew exactly. As
yeah,
soon as you picked it up, I knew.
yeah, yeah. This is probably obvious who my greatest influence is based off that guitar.
Yeah, man. Yeah. What was the first Pink Floyd record you listened to?
You know what? I really don't remember. I think it would have been just songs that my dad was playing in the house when I was young. But I've got this big memory of, and after that, I moved into later Pink Floyd, of when we were young, right? And the Pulse tour of '94 and things like that. So, but early on, it would have been things like Time, so Dark Side,
Mhm.
Animals. It would have been that era because that's what my dad was listening to.
Okay.
Um,
I'm
yeah.
always curious about that because when people say that, when they talk about Pink Floyd and I ask them like, were they listening to Careful with that Axe Eugene? Because like listening to that as a kid, you're kind of like, what the hell is this?
Yeah.
Compared to listening to Time, which is just this probably
Yeah.
has one of the greatest guitar solos in the history of rock and roll,
Oh,
period.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely.
but you can miss the mark too if you get exposed to the wrong song at the wrong time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep. They had a big career, right? Big trajectory. When they were with Sid, they were a very different band than when Gilmour joined. It took a few years after he joined to kind of find his groove, but you can see the influence he had, and also Waters with his composing style and I guess skill. You can see around metal, sort of when Echoes was their real sort of when you heard that, you thought, okay, this is Dark Side sort of territory.
Mhm.
And then Dark Side of the Moon followed that. So, prior to that, you could probably skip, I mean, everyone's different, but for me, it was post sort of echoes for
Mhm.
me. That was the greatest Pink Floyd. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, anytime I can kinda consume any, like, old footage of them in the studio, like, we've probably seen maybe, unfortunately, we've probably seen everything that exists
Yeah.
unless they, like,
Yeah.
resurface something or find something in a vault, but
Yeah, I'm very sad about that, Mark.
I know, man, because all the footage from, like, recording Dark Side and, like,
Yeah.
when you see Dave, like, sitting and working out a solo
Yeah.
and, like, doing take after take after take and, like, how much of a perfectionist you can see that dude is,
Yeah.
um, it's wild. It's so wild to see, like, even, like,
Yeah.
a glimpse of what was happening at that moment is just
Yeah.
crazy. It's just nuts. Um,
Yeah. It's nuts, yeah.
what happened for you in the '90s, though? Like, so I started playing guitar right like, when I heard Pearl Jam, that's when I wanted to play guitar.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
so what happened for you during the whole grunge era?
Yeah. So grunge was a big part of my, maybe all of our age group, right? I don't, for me especially, Nirvana was a big hit for me when Cobain died in '94. That was huge. But I think when we were that age, you know, I'd I'd gotten heavily into grunge, Soundgarden, especially Pearl Jam, Temple of the Dog.
Mhm,
Um, those four main singers of the Seattle, like Vedder and Staley and Cornell, um, and sort of even down to Stone. I know Stone Temple Pilots weren't from Seattle, but that sort of genre of music was something I was heavily into when I was about 15, 16, 17. Yeah.
did you ever get a chance to see any of those bands that, like, when they came
Yeah.
overseas? Oh,
Yeah.
man, where would you did you see Nirvana?
I saw Nirvana at the Big Day Out in Sydney. Yeah, it was the only time I saw them. I think it was 90, might have been 92 or 93. Unless it was just, yeah, I can't remember. It was the 90s are a blur for me, man. It's um
Dude, I mean, alright, tell me about that because so 93, I was 12 or 13.
yeah.
And, I mean, I hadn't been able I didn't go to a show at that time. My parents like, "I'm not gonna let you go to see some crazy rock band that they didn't understand." So, like, tell me what was that, like, an outdoor
Yeah.
festival? Like, what was it?
Yeah, so the Big Day Out is in Australia is an outdoor festival with multiple bands playing, multiple stages, just a big festival that you'd have over in the US. But um, I saw Soundgarden play. I don't think at the same one, but at a different one as well. So you get a lot of headline acts coming out for these, and then they do a lot of side shows. But I was quite young as well. I think I'm a couple of years older than you, so I was 15, I think. And we'd kind of that's when I started going out to see bands play where I could, but we couldn't go to clubs and things, so we could only go to these outdoor festivals.
Mm,
But yeah, I saw. I didn't see Soundgarden play early. I saw them when they reformed,
mhm.
um, and I've seen Pearl Jam more times than I can count. I love Eddie Vedder's voice,
Yeah, man.
and McCready. I
Mm.
loved what he did with. Did you listen to Mad Season?
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah, so cool.
Yo,
Yeah.
dude, I woke up to you know what's hilarious, Terry? I have on my cell phone, my alarm is that song "Wake Up," like
Oh,
the
awesome.
first song,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I listened to that through all of high school. When that record came out, I had this 3-disc CD player,
Yeah. Cool.
and there was an alarm clock on it, and that's the song I woke up to throughout all of high school,
Wake
because
up.
you know how it starts chill? It's, like,
Yeah.
got this it's a slow burn,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
funny because now I'm, like, went back to it. I'm like, that's what I wake up to every morning at 6 AM when I get my
Wake,
kid up.
wake up, young man.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
that record is really something special.
It is.
Um,
Yeah. Absolutely. That was great work, and um, they released the video to it as well. It was just awesome. Yeah.
totally. Did
Yeah.
you listen to at all, like, that Stone Free Hendrix tribute record? Did you ever hear that in the '90s?
Um, I'm not sure if I did. I may have. I just can't remember. Yeah.
It's really hard to find.
Did it,
I've been trying to
did it have sorry, Mark. Did it
no,
have different artists doing different songs? Is that what it was?
yeah,
Yeah, I did hear that. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was a compilation, and it was like, I don't know why it's so hard to find, but, McCready, Jeff Ament stupid animation. McCready, Ament, Chris Cornell, and Matt Cameron did the Hendrix tune, "Hey Baby, Land of the Rising Sun,"
Yeah.
and
Okay.
I think it's the last song on that record. But if you listen, this might be sacrilege to a lot of people, but if you listen to, and I think maybe a lot of people would agree with this actually, if you listen to Hendrix version of that song and then you listen to that, a lot of people prefer the Seattle version, like the
Yeah.
grunge
Right.
guys version to it. Great version of that song. But like the Spin Doctors were on that. They played Spanish Castle Magic,
Yeah.
which was also a really killing version. Living Color did Crosstown Traffic.
I heard that one. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah. That was
you know,
good.
rip
Yeah.
your head right off your shoulders,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. I would never have expected Living Colour to do that, but that was wicked.
Really cool. PM
Yeah.
Dawn did Floating, and that was killing.
Yeah.
And then there was that other record, speaking of Zeppelin and compilation records. You ever listen to Iconium, where all those bands like
Mm,
Blind Melon was on it,
yeah. No,
Hootie
I
and the
never heard that.
Blowfish,
Yeah.
uh,
Right.
bunch of bands that covered a bunch of Zeppelin tunes. That was actually really great. Big Head Todd and the Monsters did Tangerine. That was like a
Yeah. Cool.
awesome tune.
I have to
Um,
go back and listen to this stuff, man.
oh, dude, I've been going back down the rabbit hole a lot lately. And did you listen to the new Pearl Jam track?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
What do
Yeah.
you think?
I like it. It sounds I'd like to say they're getting back to sort of an older sound, but it sounds new. But I can't explain it. I like it. It's awesome. It's rocking. Yeah.
It feels
Yeah.
like it could,
What do you think of it?
I think it's great. I think it sounds like it could have been on Verses,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
also sounds like it probably could have been on Binaural
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
way.
It's a bit. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's got an old feel to it, but it feels new.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's kind of
And
dark.
that has got it. It is a bit. Yeah. Vedder's got his voice going again. That's for sure.
Yeah. I saw them. They came through New Jersey, and my buddy and I went like 2 Septembers ago, and he sounded awesome.
Yeah.
Because I've
Yeah.
been at some shows. I went in 2013, like right when Lightning Bolt came out,
Yeah.
and they played a lot of stuff off Yield, which is my favorite record. So that's why I loved the show.
Yeah.
But he definitely was struggling here and there, and I was like, oh, he's getting older. And
Yeah.
then when I saw him 2 Septembers ago, I was like, oh no, he's fine.
He's
So,
back.
yeah. But what was
Yeah.
funny, Terry, is I've never seen this happen at a Pearl Jam show. There was a big old train wreck on stage musically.
Oh.
They were playing Wash, and something happened where Matt Cameron might not have been able to hear,
Oh, wow.
and there was a measure where it was like just like what just happened. Like nobody knew where they were. But regardless, I mean, they're my favorite band for a reason. They're just like one of the greatest live bands you'll ever see. So
Yeah, they're definitely in the top 5 bands for me. Pearl Jam.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Vedder's got a voice it's like Cornell, right? There's just no one else that can do it. There's plenty of cover bands out there and guys who try and sing like that and people that sort of sound like that, but no one's got that tone. No one can do that
Yeah.
thing, man, with their voice.
I know. And I cannot believe every other day I'll think about Chris Cornell and be like, oh,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah. Such a
Such a shame.
shame, man. Yeah.
Oh, such a shame.
Yeah.
All right, so let's jump forward into like building and electronics and stuff. Like how from 11 when you start playing
Yeah.
guitar, how the heck did you start messing with stuff, and where does that come from?
Yeah, I mean, so music was very big in my life, and we played in a lot of bands, my brother and I, and so guitar was very big in my life, right? It's something that I've always done, and I'm not very good at it, but it's something I've always done, Mark. But but something else I've always done when I was a kid was like to tinker. I like knowing how things work. So, I had everything in bits all the time. I had guitars in bits. I used to pull the VCR apart, the video recorder apart, and I used to pull apart my computer and not always be able to get it back together. I used to I remember I'd often pull my car apart, and my dad would have to help me put it back together. But what he did as a career was early on he was a TV technician, and he used to supplement his the money with driving trucks, but later on he became, when I was younger, I remember him fixing camera flashes, the professional camera flashes. So photographers that would have broken flashes would send them to my dad to repair. And my uncle also started doing that. So they're very electronics family. And from a very early age, I'd help, I'd want to help. And slowly they'd give me things to do. And so I learned, from fairly early on, maybe my earliest memories around 11, 12, sort of helping dad. But as I got to about 15, 16, I was really helping fix these camera flashes. And so that's where I learned electronics, was just from my dad. He had a bunch of books that I was interested in. And so, guitar and electronics was what I was interested in. Yeah. And then, it was just a natural progression, I guess, to guitar, music, electronics. So combine them together, and the only thing you really make is amps or pedals. And I'm not clever enough to make amps like Greer and the guys there, the next level guys. But no, I enjoyed making pedals. So that's where it began. I mean, what happened was, I'd make them for myself initially, because back when we were younger, it was hard. Pedals, we're in a sort of golden age now, right? You'd know that. I mean, when we were younger, all you had was probably Boss, right? Boss pedals.
Yeah, Boss, and remember those little Dan Electro pedals?
Yeah, Dan Electro. Maybe Digitech a bit later.
Electro-harmonics.
Yeah, electro-harmonics, obviously. Yeah.
But there wasn't a lot. There wasn't a lot available.
There wasn't a lot. And so, I started building pedals that weren't actually pedals at the time. They were kind of just circuits, right, where you'd run the sound into and run the sound out of, because getting parts back then was impossible. We didn't have what we have these days with all the electronic stores and the online retailers that make it easy to get parts and boxes and things like that. So, where you get a plastic enclosure, which caused other problems. And so that's where it started. Yeah.
So when you got parts, was it like Radio Shack style? Like you would go somewhere? That's crazy, man.
Yeah, the internet didn't exist, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, my uncle made me my first amp as well. He bought the first guitar, and he actually built the first amp because we just couldn't afford an amp. So he built it for me. And we had a couple of stores in Australia, Dick Smith and J-Car, which I'm not sure if you have J-Car in the US. No.
Mm-mm.
It's I think J-Car's a Radio Shack, basically.
Okay.
And you'd go in there and it'd have drawers of resistors and, capacitors and things like that. It was like being in heaven, right? You pick all the bits you want and you go and make what you can.
That's so cool. What was the first thing you made? Did you do something simple like a fuzz face circuit, or what'd you do?
I don't remember because, because the internet wasn't really around then. I mean, it was around, but there was no real material on guitar circuits, So we ended up getting information from books. So yeah, it was either a distortion or a fuzz, and I'd say it was probably a fuzz because it was a simple circuit.
Mm-hmm.
And the parts would have been easy to get. So yeah, I'd say it would have been some kind of fuzz. I don't know I can guarantee it probably didn't sound like a fuzz face at the time.
It might have sounded cooler, man. I mean, it's funny to me to think about that era and what you had to do to put things together because it's
Yeah.
so different now. But like, was there something like listening to Nirvana, like listening to like Scentless Apprentice or something like that? Was there something that made you feel empowered that is like, I could build something that make my guitar sound like that? Is that like kind of what was going on in your head?
Yeah, I think Jimi Hendrix, I think that sort of fuzz that he had into a cranked Marshall, I think that sound was probably or either that or moving into Angus Young AC/DC type sound. But either those two sounds probably would have been what I was trying to achieve. And the amp that I had was just a clean, would have been a hi-fi type amp, right? Because that's what my uncle would have built. Just a clean sort of platform amp. But I had maybe two pedals. I think I do remember having a DS1, I think, a Boss DS1.
Yeah, man.
And I got a Boss CE2, which I've still got somewhere here. It's the old chorus pedal. But yeah, so would have been trying to get that dirt out of that amp. So definitely a fuzz or some sort of overdrive distortion sort of circuit.
Oh
Yeah.
man, that's so cool. So how many iterations did it take you before you got something that you liked?
I don't think I ever got anything I liked, because I I eventually bought a Marshall JCM 900 when I was not 16 or something like that, which I've still
Yeah.
got here. Great amp because it had a second channel, which is what I was craving at the time, right?
Mhm.
16 years old, you want to play grunge music or heavy music, right? You don't want to play clean stuff. So
Yeah, man. Did
um,
you what amp do you play through nowadays? Like where do you test all your stuff on?
I've got I've got three amps, but my main is a high watt custom 50 DR504, which is the amp. I mean, obviously Gilmore, right? It's that's the sort of amp he used. He used the 103, but 50. I can't use the 100 watt where I am. They're just deafening loud. Even the 50s, just you can't stand in the same room as it. It's unreal. Yeah, I have to use an attenuator just to bring it to a level where I can be in the same room.
Ah,
But yeah, I test all the pedals through the high watt, but also the Marshall to both the channels, just to make sure that we're not getting an oscillation or anything like that.
yeah. Man.
Um,
So the high watt's a 50-watt amp.
yeah, it's a 50 watt. Yeah,
Man, isn't it crazy how loud those things could be? Like you would think,
yeah,
because like this amp behind me
yeah,
is switchable between 40 and 20 watts.
yeah. I'd love to have that.
But man, I'll tell you, like there's something about the 40-watt, like there's the headroom that
Yeah,
happens it's different. Like it doesn't compress as quick. And
yeah,
sometimes like as a guitarist, sometimes I like when things can compress like a little
yeah,
quicker.
yeah,
Um, but this thing, and I don't use the first channel on this. I leave it on the second channel
yeah, yeah,
and I get it to a point where it's breaking up and it can be dirty if I dig in
yeah, yeah.
on the
Plus,
treble.
you got your guitar volume too. You can control it with, right?
Yeah, and
Yeah,
like it works like magic, but like it is like in this little room, if I don't wear earplugs, like I definitely have hearing loss. I had that
yeah,
checked in the past,
yeah.
whatever. And my doctor
It's
was like,
awful.
listen, buddy, just wear some ear protection every time you play.
Yeah,
You're gonna be fine. Just
yeah,
don't not wear ear protection.
yeah,
So I had a come to the come to the man type discussion with him. It's not bad. It's just like right
yeah,
below the line at 4K, and he's like, "That's guitar." I
yeah.
was like,
I'm
"Okay."
I'm exactly the same, Mark. That's why I laugh, because I'm the same. Just from playing in bands and loud music
What are you
purely.
gonna do, man? I mean, we're in our 40s. Things are starting to decline, Terry. I don't wanna
Yeah,
think about it too much, but well, dude,
yeah.
I wanna talk a lot about this pedal because I feel like this is pretty damn magical. Um,
Thank you.
when I first played through it, because I think I mostly leave it on the silicon
Yeah. Yeah.
switch, just because I want that headroom, like I just said.
Yeah.
But man, like, just beautiful. The amount of gain in here is perfect for what I do as a musician. So
Yeah.
did you base this on? What was in your ears and your head when you were like, were you trying to find like a low to mid gain circuit thing that would work well for like the Gilmore thing? Like, what was it?
Yes. So, there's so many overdrives out there, isn't there? It's
Mhm.
just flooded, right? But I feel that everyone has something to offer. But there's a lot of similar overdrives, and I wanted to create something that was a little bit as different as I could, I guess. Um, and it's impossible these days, right? Every circuit's been done. There's only so many ways you can pull sound out of a transistor and an op amp and a JFET, right? Everyone's kind of done everything.
Right.
But yeah, I just wanted to do something, I guess, a little bit away from the sort of current popular pedals that are out there. So actually, funny enough, the front of the circuit is kind of based around part of it's actually similar to a rat. Funny enough,
Really?
yeah. But only you wouldn't even know if you
No.
looked at it. It was just that's kind of where I started at, that sort of looking at that. But really, it's just a op amp, overdrive.
Hmm.
But yeah, I guess I between that and sort of moved into looking at the Cornish designs, his circuits that he had, um, and I guess borrowing from good designers as well when I got stuck with parts that I couldn't get right, um, and modifying values to my ear, I guess, and until I found something that I liked. And funny you like the silicon mode because it was never going to be on there.
Really?
Really? Yeah, yeah. I actually designed it as germanium diode clipping, and I thought, you know what, I might I might stick a silicon option in there for that more, the higher headroom because you know it comes in handy. So
Dude.
it was almost a last minute type of decision, and yeah, I'm glad I did. It gives a few more options to the pedal.
I'm
Yeah,
not to say that I wouldn't have clicked with it if it would have just been germanium, but like I think it adds so much to this pedal in terms of offering different flavors for people because it's A, dial it to your amp, B, dial it to the room.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I
That's
mean?
important, right? It's important to do that.
Oh my god. So
Uh,
let me just put this up to the camera a little bit so people can see. So this
Yeah,
toggle switch right here is switchable between germanium and silicon. So that's what we're
yeah.
talking about.
That's
Um,
right. Yeah,
and
yeah,
and even like the EQ circuit in here, very usable. It's not like it just like dumps bass or dumps treble in
yeah,
your face. Like it's very gradual and very musical.
yeah.
Um, Plenty of volume on tap too, like the perfect amount. Like I had a Sir pedal. Oh man, and this would have been. It's crazy to even say this, but it would have been 10 or 12 years ago that I had this pedal,
Yeah, right.
and it was a fuzz pedal, and it just wasn't usable. Like
Yeah, yeah.
you'd have the volume like almost all the way down
Oh,
and
really?
just bring it up a little bit and it was like screaming in your face. I'm like, where the
Oh,
hell are
wow.
you supposed to go from there, man?
Yeah,
Um, and I don't know. I think that's like when Sir was starting to mess with pedals, and I don't think
yeah,
they
right.
had it down yet. Um,
Yeah,
Whereas their stuff now I hear is great,
yeah. It is great. Yeah,
but this pedal is really such a secret weapon for me, and, like, I'm not even kidding you, man, like, the last gig I played, it's not often that my band members will be like, "Bro, your tone tonight is on point."
oh,
And
wow.
that
Great.
night, they were all like, "Whoa, dude," and, like, your guitar sound is just, like, three-dimensional and it's sitting right where it should. It's not ice picky when you go up top. Now, a lot of that has to do too with like the guitar pickups that are in my 335
Yeah,
because
right.
they're
Yeah.
PAF style pickups. When I
Yeah.
get up high on the register, it's not like
Yeah.
it's like this nice rounded thing that happens. But this thing adds so much to the symbiotic nature between my hands, the amp, and that pedal.
Wow.
Um,
Yeah. Thank you.
and it really is it's becoming my fingerprint. And I've recently was like, I'm going to do another video specifically talking about it on my channel because I'm not even kidding. Anyone that watches this, you need to go here. I'm going to put it up because BV put it up here, but go to Terry's website and buy one of these. If you like low kind of mid gain in your sound, and especially if you're stacking, like I stacked it with fuzz.
Yeah, it's great to stack. Yeah.
Oh man,
Yeah.
it's great.
Works well. Yeah.
There's a couple pedals that do it really well. So the Greer Lightspeed does that really well, and your pedal
Yep.
does it really well.
I love the
And
light speed. Yeah.
oh,
Awesome.
it's great. Yeah, both circuits are brilliant. But I really mean that. So anyone that is on here, if you're looking for something different, and I know Terry and I were just talking, everybody's making overdrive pedals, and do we need another one? Yes, you do, and it's this one. Because it's just like it's like a natural overdrive is how I would describe it, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't want to say transparent, but
I guess,
natural.
yeah, I mean, that's a buzzword, right? But it is something that we try and achieve, I guess, is that, you know, the light speed's another one that's a similar type of achieving with a different circuit, but that sort of sound as well. You know, this would be very similar to maybe a Cornish SS3. If you've heard that, it's very similar sounding to that, just with the silicon germanium options and a little bit different sort of voicing. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of feedback is why I do what I do, Mark. It's definitely for the love of it, right? And hearing things like that is why we do what we do. Yeah.
It's and I look forward to stepping on it every time, man. It's like
Yeah, awesome.
it hasn't left my board, and I'm pretty. When I find something I like I like this a lot. There's a fuzz pedal. There's a company called OCE Pedals.
Okay.
I don't know if you know about them,
No,
but
I don't.
my buddy Chris owns that company. He's based in Burbank, California, and
Yeah.
he builds a fuzz called the Wrench. And he has it's cool. He has actually
Is that where you went to build the fuzz that time?
no, that's
Okay.
my buddy Curtis Mason from Mason Effects.
I love that video. That's awesome.
It was funny, and mine didn't work, of course, and his did.
It was great.
But dude, he like when he solders things, he is so meticulous, and
Yeah.
he's the one who taught me how to solder. That was my first time
Yeah.
soldering.
You did excellent. Really well. I was impressed.
It didn't work.
They never work first time.
But so anyway, so Chris is OCE pedal. So he has this pedal
Oh, wow.
line called the
I've seen
hardware.
that.
Yeah.
I've seen that before. Yeah.
And this thing is smashing pumpkins in a box. It's like
Yeah, wow. Big
it's
mouth
like
with a box,
it's the big muff, but he put a mid switch in here, a mid knob. So you can
Every big muff needs a mid switch or a knob, right?
It cuts, man. But anyway, so he has all these neat little pedals where he puts like a tool on it, and it's called the hardware series. It's very clever.
That is so cool.
But his wrench and your Skylight have just stayed on my board for a while. So I just want to attest to this and really put my my stamp of approval on it. Not that people need it, because who the hell am I? But this is such a great pedal, and I really want everybody to play it. And BV, thank you again for introducing Terry and myself. Oh, if BV's got something going on here, what's he saying? Terry Hendricks using AUL instruments fuzz 60 recordings. Okay, and then he put this version of Mossrite Fuzzrite. Ever thought of revisiting that or the Selmer Buzz Tone?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, the Mosrite would have been one of the first circuits, that I built early on because it was so well documented. I don't know whether there was much on the Selmer, but yeah, definitely. I mean, I think I might have mentioned to you that I'm looking at a fuzz at the moment, developing a fuzz, and there's another one I'm looking at that's very kind of a simple fuzz, but I want to simplify things again, get back to my roots a little bit, and but yeah, fuzz is definitely something that I love.
Are you, as far as like building pedals and everything, coming up with new ideas, are you a huge fuzz guy? Like you would like to like do different iterations of different types of fuzz, whether it's zonk or it's fuzz face, or are you like I really like this style of fuzz?
Yeah, there's a lot of really great people doing some great fuzzes at the moment, and yeah, it's Marcus in the UK produces some great fuzzes, and there's just some things I could never compete with, and I wouldn't, and I don't want to, because they're like perfect fuzzes, so I don't feel like I'd add any value. I only really do something if I feel like I can add value to someone's playing, or Dan said on VCQ last, the pedal show, that about the guitarist being connected, right? And what a great thing that is, and for me that's essential. What I do, why I do what I do, is to try and help guitarists feel connected to their instrument and produce sounds that make them feel emotion. And if I can't do that, then I won't release something. But yeah, definitely fuzz bass would be my favorite fuzz circuit. And big muff, but muff isn't really a fuzz traditionally by nature of the circuit. But
is it more distortion?
It is. By topology, I guess you'd call it. Yeah, it's stacking gain stages, right? But it's kind of more. I mean, it sounds like a fuzz, but it's not traditionally how a fuzz face circuit topology is. So yeah, it's probably more of a distortion. Actually, in fact, on the Civil War release from EH or Softtech back in the 90s, one of the controls was called distortion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, rather than sustain.
Okay.
But yeah, but if I was going to do something, it'd be around the fuzz face type of topology.
Okay. I just went to a master class with Ariel Posen last week.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I love Ariel.
And he borrowed my 2-rock to do it because it was right up the street from me. And we were hanging out talking, and he was like, dude, what I've been getting into with fuzz and what I tend to lean more towards is the Cobb fuzz sound.
Yeah.
And I always kind of heard people talk about it because of Doyle Bramhall.
Yep.
That's like his bag. And he was like, that's that like Velcro-y type fuzz that I like, is that sound. And it's weird because I should probably like read up on this to learn more about like what's the difference between this type of fuzz and this type of fuzz and this type of fuzz. Because it's like, I have a zonk, I have a tone bender, I have the fuzz faces out the wazoo. And I've had Marcus's what was that one fuzz? The Zoe. And that thing was badass too. And it's just like there are different flavors, and that not all fuzzes are created equally, I don't think.
No, you're right. Yeah, I mean the circuits, especially fuzz face circuit, is quite. I mean, tone bending starts getting a bit more expanded, but the fuzz face is quite a simple circuit. So you change one value. I mean, I think you might have discovered that already. You change one resistor value or something like that, and it's completely. Or use different transistors. It's very sensitive to changes in the circuit, so you can get a completely different sound, which is why it's so fun. It's why guitarists love it so much, and why builders often start with fuzz circuits.
Yeah. Do you like the fuzz face thing? Is the reason you like that is because you can clean it up really well, or like what is it about that circuit?
Yeah, a little. I love the fuzz as an always on, even, right, where it just adds this sparkle, I guess, to your clean, sort of on the edge of breakup sort of sound. And when you roll back the volume. So yeah, that'd be a large reason, but also just the sound of the, balls out fuzz. It's just awesome, really. And I prefer that over the tone bender and the zonk and other fuzzes. It's just my ear.
Yeah. What did Gilmore use?
Early on, so up to about Dark Side or End of Dark Side, he used a fuzz face. It was a silicon one, I think BC 108 fuzz
Okay.
face. And after that, I think early 70s, his guitar tech bought him a Big Muff Ram's Head. That was the original pedal that actually got a label on it that says Dave's Original.
That's funny.
And Big Muffs are very typical of, or EHX was very typical of using whatever parts they could get in bulk at the time, right? So you get even the Ram's Head pedals, if you bought two of them and they were built different times, they could be sounding different because of the components used at the time. And so he still uses that original pedal because he could never find another one that sounded the same.
Yeah.
But he did try others like the Civil War Big Muff and some other Big Muff variants. But yeah, after Dark Side, it was almost purely the Big Muff pedal. I think he did try some Cornish pedals in the studio. I don't think he ever. Oh, maybe it was reverse. Actually, I think he tried them live, but I don't think he ever recorded with them. Yeah.
Oh, it makes sense to me. I mean, but at the same time, I'm like, really? He used a Big Muff?
Yeah.
But it's funny to think about that because it, when I think about what instruments are synonymous with, like, I don't know, the fuzz face thing, it's the Strat,
Yeah.
because of, like, BV even said this right now, but you think about, like, the glassy cleans that you can
Yeah.
get.
Yeah.
Man, my rig when I was living in Boston, my rig was I had a 1971 twin reverb that was heavy as all get out.
Yeah.
And I
Okay.
pulled 2 power tubes out, so I was running at a half wattage.
Yeah.
And I had a newer Dunlop fuzz face that I turned on and just left on all night. That's all I
Yeah.
had.
Yeah.
I didn't have a pedal board. That's all I had. Just
Yeah.
battery,
Yeah.
cables, and that's it. And
Yeah.
that's some of the best sounds I ever got, I think,
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
Agree. Yeah.
there's something about that combination, and I was playing a Strat.
Yeah.
But man, it's so different nowadays with now that I have your pedal and now that I have this 335, it's like I've kind of leaned away from stupid animation. I've leaned away from the Strat and
Oh,
kind of
really?
am
Yeah.
really digging humbuckers and like this whole PAF thing and the Gibson scale length. I don't
Yeah.
know because I had a bunch of PRS guitars because I'm from Maryland and I
Yeah.
know them and I had a bunch and I sold them all because
Yeah. Right.
I didn't connect with a PRS. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
And then I got my custom shop Strat a few years back as a midlife crisis.
Yeah.
And then when I got that Josh Williams, man, I haven't looked back. And I brought my Strat with me on the last gig and everybody was like, "You didn't even plug the
Didn't
Strat
even pull
in."
it out. Yeah.
Because we play a bunch of John Mayer stuff and I just didn't. I feel more comfortable on the 335. So,
Yeah. Isn't it funny how we go through phases, I guess, as guitarists? I was a Les Paul player I started with the Strat and then I went through the sort of metal phase, right? The flying V's and
heck yeah, dude.
yeah, the Megadeth type of Jackson V back then. And then went to a Gibson Les Paul and then, I could see definite phases and now I'm back to Strats. I've still got the Les Paul that I use as well, but I'm definitely back to Strat player.
Yeah. What's the Les Paul?
It's just a standard back from, I think, 2000 or 99 or something like that when I bought
Nice.
it.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a good guitar. Yeah.
Yeah. I've thought a lot about because I don't have any guitars with P90s. I thought a lot about getting either like a Les Paul special
Yeah.
with P90s, 2 P90s,
Yeah.
or getting like a Les Paul, like gold top with 2
Yeah.
P90s.
Go the gold top. Yeah, they look great.
Yeah. I'd have to
Yeah.
sell a bunch of crap to do that.
Everything.
Yeah. But at some point, I don't know. I'm in no rush to get a new guitar.
Yeah.
So before we get into the lightning round get down, what are you listening to right now? What's like still inspiring you to like be involved with music?
I'm a sort of creature of habit. I still walk to the train station listening to Pink Floyd and Dave Gilmour, right? That's kind of every day is something from that band and or his solo work. And but again, I'm still, I love Seether. I'm waiting for them to bring something new out. Pearl Jam, been waiting. So yeah, I think I don't know if it's a getting old thing or new music's hard for me to get into, man. And, I love my old stuff that I like, and all the bands that I like, right? I'm waiting for new releases from the bands that have been around for a while that I like. I know I like them. I know I like what they've released, but yeah, it's hard for me to get into newer stuff, unless I connect to music through emotion, right? It has to move me.
Oh my God, yeah, dude, I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Are you into like funk and blues at all?
I love blues. I know it'll disappoint you, but not so much into funk, Mark.
That's fine. Just curious
But I
because
love blues. I love especially the older blues, B.B. King and that style of. Yeah.
okay. I was curious because I was like, I could send you some stuff that you might like, but and then I should say this too, because Australia. So when you were at that festival seeing Nirvana, and you probably went to that festival a bunch, how big was and is, I don't even know if they are still, but how big was Silverchair in that country?
Oh, it was huge. They were huge. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're about the same age as me. And so when they released Tomorrow, I think was their first song, I was the same age as them. So, being a guitar player, I was very jealous at the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, no, they were quite big. Yeah, how big were they? What's interesting would be how big did they impact US at all? Were they on the radio, or they were
Oh
everywhere
yeah.
here, man? Like, yeah.
They were all over the place. I mean, I had Frog Stomp, and you know what? I loved the record Diorama.
Yeah, right. Okay.
That
Yeah.
record, when I first heard that, how they had like the orchestra and stuff
Yeah.
in the tracks, I was like, man, this is like Electric Light Orchestra 2.0 or like
Yeah.
Wings kind of thing, but like heavier,
Yeah.
but really hip. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
if you listen to it now, because that came out, I don't know. What was that, around like 2004
2000.
or 2003, something like that probably, or
Yeah, somewhere around that.
or
Early
no,
2000.
earlier even, probably like
I think
2001?
yeah, I think Diorama was about 2000, 2001 or something, yeah, from memory.
If you listen to it now, it probably sounds overproduced
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
terms of the orchestra and everything,
Yeah.
but I still go back and listen to, like, that song Across the Night, which I think is the
Yeah.
first song. Oh, dude, that's
Yeah.
a really good song, man.
Yeah.
Um,
He's talented, Daniel Johnson. You know, I really got into Silverchair, but mostly the first album or first two albums, right? I feel like they had a raw energy back then, and then they kind of lost it a little bit as they became more produced or got older, maybe, and lost that edge where you're learning still, maybe. Or
as soon as you have a bed made of money, you don't care
yeah,
anymore.
that's right. Yeah, yeah,
That's so funny, dude. Well, I feel like well deserved, and I mean, like, to be that young and to be that had to be hard too.
they were insanely young.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
when
had to
they
be
and
really hard on them too, growing up, like, having
yeah,
to grow up in the public eye. It's like when you look at people like Billie Eilish or look at,
yeah,
like, Justin Bieber, where you gotta, like,
yeah,
grow
yeah.
up in the eye of the public. That kinda sucks.
Must be so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It
No, it
al
would be. I mean, they don't get the childhood, right, that you and I got, and so
Yeah.
yeah,
Luckily, I guess when they were young, now not for Billie Eilish because she's around during the internet and cell phones and smartphones, but, like, when they were
yeah,
growing up, they
yeah,
could make stupid mistakes and no one documented it, you know what I mean?
yeah. That's
So,
right. Yeah,
oh my gosh. All right,
yeah,
Terry, you ready to do this, lightning round get down?
yeah. Absolutely. Let's hit it.
I think we got a good one. So we're gonna 112 BPM cruising altitude. I'm gonna ask you 10 questions, this or that type things. Oh, you know what? Actually, I forgot my dad joke. I gotta do my dad joke first. All right. I've been doing this where I tell a dad joke before the lightning round gets down. All right,
Yeah.
here we go. I'm terrified of lifts. I'm gonna start taking steps to avoid them. That's terrible. All right, here we go.
My
All
kids would
right.
love that one.
All right, Terry. First one's always the same. Lennon or McCartney?
Lennon for sure. Yeah.
Hard or soft clipping?
Soft.
salty or sweet for a snack?
Oh, that's a hard one, Mark. Depends how I'm feeling. Probably salty.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nintendo or PlayStation?
PlayStation.
Summer or Winter Olympics?
Oh, winter.
Okay.
Yeah.
SG or 335?
SG. Sorry, Mark.
That's all right. Soundgarden or Alice in Chains?
Oh, you didn't do that to
I
me.
did. I did.
Oh, Alice in Chains, but by this much.
What's your favorite AIC record?
Oh, I think, yeah,
Dirt is a masterpiece. So that's
Dirt
yeah.
probably would be my favorite. Yeah, there's songs off the other ones that I like better, but as an overall piece, Dirt would be, yeah, what I
The record.
choose. But yeah, Soundgarden. I feel bad now because I because I love Soundgarden too.
It's okay. No one's gonna judge you for this. All right. Email or text?
Text.
Okay. Vox or Marshall?
Marshall.
And here's the last one. If you could erase one album from your memory, just so you could go back and experience it for the first time again, what album would that be?
Oh, there's a lot that I'd love to listen to again for the first time. You never get that feeling again, really, do you? It's like,
No, that's why it's a bummer.
yeah. I think Dark Side of the Moon for sure.
Okay. Dark Side of the Moon reigns supreme in this question.
Yeah, does it? Yeah.
I have had, I've had over 150 episodes of the show, right? So at least 3 or 4 people have said that, and every other album has never been reproduced. No one has ever said another album.
Yeah, right.
Except for that one, I think. Maybe actually Jellyfish Spilt Milk might be the but that's probably just 2 people that have said that. So at least 4 or 5 people I think have said Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. It is, I mean, they were a popular band as well, but it was a masterpiece, I think. Really well written and great feeling, great emotion on it. And
it's a seminal record that everybody has to listen to. It's a rite of passage, if you will.
Yeah,
it's
sure.
a walkabout, if you will.
Yeah, it's a walkabout. Yeah. See, we're turning you into an Australian, Mark. Dude, that's two in a couple of weeks. Yeah.
Man, you know what? I talked to my wife. I mean, it's a bucket list item to visit there. It's a bucket list item to stop in New Zealand as well. But like, I would love to come visit Australia. Although I will tell you, your critters scare the shit out of me. I am so scared of snakes, like ridiculously scared of snakes.
I'd say in the cities we don't see them as much, but that's probably a bit of a lie. I've got a quick story for you. Actually, I was a couple of nights ago. I was soldering at my workstation over there, right? So I've got a hot soldering iron in my hands, and I see this little black. Well, it wasn't little, man. It was freaking huge. I see this black thing running at me, and listen, the spiders don't really attack you. Like, they're more worried about getting away from you, right?
Right.
They don't often chase you down.
Right.
And this thing, I looked over and this freaking huge spider was running across the table at me, like trying to kill me. And I dropped the soldering iron and it burnt my leg.
Oh.
And then it burnt the floor, and I've hightailed it out of there. And this spider's like seriously running after me. It was crazy.
No, thank you. No, thank you. I don't want
look after you, Mark. When you come down, you come see me.
All right. I'm mostly worried about. I mean, spiders are one thing, but snakes, man. Like, I had one in my garage, like I don't know, 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And getting that out of my garage was.
Yeah.
If you would have seen me, you'd have been like, "Come on, man! Like, really? It's a black snake. It's not venomous. It's whatever, dude. Like, you're gonna be all right."
Yeah.
But anyway, Terry, dude, BV, thank you again for moderating. Here's the website. I'm not gonna say it again, well, I'm going to say it one more time. Go get this damn pedal. It's so good. It's so good. Just like one of the greatest pedals I own, and I'm so grateful for you to send me one, Terry, and I use it all the time. So just know it's being put to use.
Thank you.
And then you got, I mean, name off just a couple of the other pedals that you have that you're available, so people know it's just not that pedal.
Yeah, so you know, we do a fairly large Gilmore type of sort of influence pedal range. So we do have the Gilmore Muff pedal, which is a copy, you know, based off his Ram's head, and we have like the Precision 2, which is based off the Cornish P2. We've got the Custom Fuzz, which is again sort of based loosely around the Cornish G2. We're about to release another couple of pedals, one being a fuzz, if I can sort this oscillation issue out, Mark, that we keep talking about. Yeah. But yeah, check the range out. There's plenty of pedals there. You know, there's a dark side fuzz type of pedal there that'll get you that time solo sound.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome. You're the man. I really appreciate you making some time and getting up early and everything. Are you headed off to work now?
Yeah, I've got a few things to do now. So yeah, I'll have a coffee first.
Yeah. Well, man, thank you for making time with me, and everybody else. Please check out DevTech Audio. Really great stuff across many ponds. But Terry, hang one second. But everybody else, take care of yourself. Take care of each other. We'll see you next time.
Thanks.